Okay, welcome back friends. I am Dr. Klim Raza. Today in this video lecture we are going to discuss about the tracts. This is our basically second part of the tracts neuroanatomy lecture, and in today's lecture again we are going to discuss about ascending and descending tracts. The purpose of this today's discussion is to make your concepts more clear in order to understand your ascending and descending tracts neurons. Maybe I have not explained the neurons in the first lecture. That's why there were some queries that how many neurons basically take this important sensation to your cortex, how many neurons, motor neurons there which help in the voluntary movements. So in these lectures we are going to especially discuss these ascending and descending order neurons. So first we have to focus please on this structure. This structure number one, this is basically your spinothalamic tract, and we know that spinothalamic tract is carrying pain and temperature, and then anterior spinothalamic tract is carrying your the screw touch and the pressure. So pain and temperature is basically regulated by lateral spinothalamic tract through these three order neurons. So where is the first order neuron? Where is the first order neuron which is regulating, which is controlling your pain and temperature? First order neuron, here you can see that pain and temperature, pain plus temperature through the first order neuron is through the sensory nerve ending entering into DRG, dorsal root ganglia, which is basically sensory ganglia. So first order neuron from the sensory nerve ending, up to the dorsal root ganglia. This is first order neuron. This is first order neuron. Then it's entering into the dorsal hall. You can see inside, this is transverse section of the spinal cord. Then immediately it enters to your spinal cord and it entering to the spinal cord and it's entering to the anterior white commissure and then crossing to the other side. So crossing to the other side and it ascending contralaterally to your thalamus. Here will be your VPL thalamus. VPL thalamus, which is basically taking this information of the pain and temperature. VPL nucleus in the thalamus. So this this neuron from spinal cord up to the VPL thalamus, this is your second order neuron. This is your second order neuron. So it's mean in this spinal cord, this neuron is the second order neuron of the spinothalamic tract. Now very important information you have to understand. First we have to understand where is the third order neuron. Third order neuron is basically neuron of spinothalamic tract from thalamus, VPL thalamus to the primary somatosensory cortex to the parietal lobe. So in this way, how many order neurons basically taking pain and temperature information? 3. From sensory nerve ending up to the dorsal root ganglia. You have to write in your notes that from sensory nerve ending up to DRG and to the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, this is your first order neuron. From dorsal root ganglia, dorsal horn up to VPL thalamus, this is your second order neuron. From VPL to the cortex, this is your third order neuron. Now if you remember that in first part I have explained that what is the Brown-Séquard syndrome. That Brown-Séquard syndrome is basically the hemisection of the spinal cord. Half of the spinal cord function is impaired. So that injury is basically at the level of the spinal cord. So it's mean if there will be injury in the spinal cord, suppose spinal cord in hemisection of the spinal cord, there is injury here. Suppose this is the half of the spinal cord is injured now. So it's mean injury in which order neuron? In second order neuron of the spinothalamic tract in the Brown-Séquard syndrome. So second order neuron is crossing in the spinal cord. So it's mean if you are having injury in the right side of the spinal cord, this second order neuron is taking pain and temperature from the left side of the body. If you are having injury in the left side of the spinal cord, left side pain and temperature is coming from the right side. That's why pain and temperature is lost contralateral. So this is injury to which order neuron? Second order neuron of the spinothalamic tract. This is very important information. That's why always it's loss of the contralateral loss of pain and temperature in Brown-Séquard syndrome. and this ascending tract, the spinothalamic tract, is the only tract which is crossing within the spinal cord and then ascending to your thalamus, to your gatekeeper, contralaterally. Another question I have to ask, if patient is having injury before the spinal cord, it's mean before the spinal cord, this is your first order neuron. So if injury is before the spinal cord, in the first order neuron, it's mean in the sensory nerve ending, which is taking your, the nerve, the peripheral nerve is basically mixed, both sensory and then motor. But if there is injury in the sensory nerve, anywhere up to the length of the dorsal root ganglia, it means this is the first order neuron injury. So this first order neuron injury, if on the right side this pain and temperature is lost, ipsilateral, same side. Why? It's before the synapse, it's before the crossing, it's before the spinal cord. So do understand, please, do write in your notes, highlight this part, that first order neuron injury of the spinothalamic tract, pain and temperature is lost, ipsilateral. Second order neuron, pain and temperature is lost, contralateral. Anywhere in the brainstem, this lemniscus injury, pain and temperature is lost, contralateral. Do understand this. I hope your concept is now clear. Then in second picture, you can see here, in the second picture, this is your basically dorsal column medial lemniscus system, DCMLS, dorsal column. So the dorsal column of the spinal cord, having nuclei like cuneatus and then gracilis, and dorsal column is taking which information like vibration, proprioception, stereognosis, yes, and then the fine touch. But we have to understand that how many neurons of the dorsal column medial lemniscus system there. Again, this is ascending tract, so there are 3 order neurons, but this second order neuron is not crossing in the spinal cord. So do focus on this structure, please. So suppose you are touching any object, you feel this touch or vibration or the proprioception, this sense through the sensory nerve ending through the first order neuron entering into dorsal root ganglia and then entering into the spinal cord and then ascending, and then it's going to synapse in the medulla. Why in the medulla? Because nucleus cuneatus and gracilis, both these nuclei are present in the medulla oblongata. So this is very important information, that first order neuron which is taking vibration, proprioception, stereognosis, fine touch information, it's entering. Suppose I am touching this pen, this sensation is entering into my spinal cord, and then it's not crossing to the opposite side in the spinal cord, it entering into the spinal cord and ascending same side, ipsilateral, and it's going to synapse ipsilateral medulla. You can focus here, please. Look, this is first order neuron, now it's synapsing in this nucleus in the ipsilateral medulla. This is first order neuron, this is first order neuron, this is the first order neuron. Okay, pain, this vibration, proprioception, fine touch, it's entering into the spinal cord and ascending in the spinal cord ipsilaterally, then it's going to synapse. If it's this sensation touch is coming from the upper limb, it's going to synapse the cuneatus. If this touch is coming from the lower limb, it's going to synapse with the gracilis. And then after this touch, after this synapse in the medulla, it's going to cross to the opposite side, and then it's synapsing to the thalamus, VPL thalamus. It's mean that second order neuron of this dorsal column medial lemniscus system is crossing and then entering into your brainstem. So where is the second order neuron? From the medulla to the thalamus. So first order neuron from the sensory nerve ending up to the medulla to the cuneatus and then gracilis, and then after this synapse is going to cross to the opposite side. So it's mean if there is injury in the lemniscus, if there is injury in the medulla, above the medulla up to thalamus, above this sensation, vibration, proprioception is lost, contralateral, because this is crossing here. But if there is injury in the first order neuron in the spinal cord, in the sensory nerve ending, vibration, proprioception is lost, ipsilateral. That's why in the bronchicord in hemisection of the spinal cord, vibration, proprioception is lost, ipsilateral, because it's below the medulla. Crossing is happening in the medulla after this cuneatus synapse. then it's going to synapse in the VPL thalamus, and then it's entering to your cortex, to the cortex. Here you can see. So this is your third order neuron after the thalamus. So I hope you understood the first, second, and then third order neuron of the dorsal column medial lemniscus system. Now this final structure here you can see, this is a structure relating to your basically descending tract, and this is called as pyramidal tract, or this is also called as corticospinal tract. This is another very important tract. So this corticospinal tract is basically innervating your basically entire skeletal muscles, and it controls voluntary movement. And this basically first order neuron is originating from the frontal cortex. You can see that this first order neuron of the descending tract is originating from the cortex, crossing, here is your internal capsule, crossing from the posterior limb of the internal capsule. Look, these are the thalami, these are the thalami, these are thalami. Here you will have basically this internal capsule, here will be internal capsule. Here you can see the basically putamen, the globus pallidus nucleus. This is the coronal section of the brain. And then look, from the cortex it's starting descending from the posterior limb of the internal capsule, then it descending, now it's crossing all the brainstem structure, midbrain, pons, medulla. Now it's at the pyramid of the medulla. So at the medulla up to this part, this entire is called as first order neuron. So where is the first order neuron of the pyramidal tract, corticospinal tract? It's starting from the cortex, descending throughout these structures of the basal ganglia, then entire brainstem up to the caudal medulla. Here it's going to cross to the opposite side. And now after the medulla, if you know the anatomy of the brainstem and the spinal cord, that after the medulla there is a spinal cord. So it means it's going to enter to the spinal cord. So there is decussation at the level of the pyramidal medulla, at the lower end of the medulla, at the caudal medulla, and then it's entering into your spinal cord in the white matter, because this is the axon, highly myelinated axon, and then it's synapsing your ventral horn, which is lower motor horn, So you have to understand that after this cross, this neuron which is entering into spinal cord and synapsing this ventral horn, lower motor neuron. Now this is the second order neuron. This is second order neuron of pyramidal tract, or this is also called as lower motor neuron. Look, first order neuron from the cortex up to this level of the decussation up to the medulla. So if patient is having injury in the first order neuron, suppose I am writing with right hand, I am using my right side of the body, it means this information is coming from the left side of the cortex. So anywhere injury up to the medulla, always hemiplegia, the weakness will be contralateral, because it's happening in the first order neuron. It's happening above the level of the decussation. It's injury in the first order neuron, upper motor neuron. This is also called as upper motor neuron. So it's commonly injured in the stroke. That's why people who are having MCA stroke of upper brain, they do have contralateral hemiplegia. But if this injury is in the spinal cord, after the level of the decussation, after this crossing, it means this is injury in the second order neuron, lower motor neuron. So this lower motor neuron hemiplegia is ipsilateral hemiplegia. This is common in the polio, because in polio there is injury to the ventral horn of the spinal cord, ventral horn, which is the motor horn. Then where is the third order neuron of basically corticospinal tract? It's from the spinal cord up to the neuromuscular junction. So you have to understand that first order neuron are the upper motor neuron, second order neuron, lower motor neuron, and then third order neuron. Then there's this lower motor neuron is also called as alpha motor neuron. So usually action of the alpha motor neuron is basically controlled by, action of the alpha motor neuron is inhibited by some types of cells. Those are called as Renshaw cells. Second order neuron or lower motor neuron, this is also called as alpha motor neuron. So activity of the lower motor neuron or alpha motor neuron is basically inhibited or limited by Renshaw cells. Remember, Renshaw cells. Renshaw cells. So Renshaw cells are usually destroyed in one disease that is called as tetanus. So in tetanus, there is destruction of basically, Renshaw cells. So there is no basically inhibition of the lower motor neuron. So that's why people do have basically spasms, lock jaw. So this is very important. Clinically, it's very important. Again, you have to basically, watch this lecture. You have to recall your tracts to understand first order, second order, and then third order neurons. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you.